Before the race in Australia, I uploaded a video explaining all of Albert Park's changes and why, I thought at least, it was actually the best they could have done. So now we've seen the race, was the $20 million upgrade package worth it? Or was it all just a waste of time, effort, and ultimately money? I think here it is important to very quickly outline what the biggest changes were, as this is vital to understanding the intention of what the race organisers were going for. For the most part, corners were widened by between 2 to 7 metres all around the track. We won't go over all of those again, that's in a previous video, link in the top right. But the biggest changes that actually impacted the race were probably the widening of turn 1, which was aiming to make the corner flow much better, with more speed being able to be carried through to the run-up to a heavily widened turn 3. Then we lost what was previously turns 9 and 10, becoming just a sweeping straight before the fast left and right hander. Now, this didn't actually have a massive impact on the race, and that's maybe due to the 4th DRS zone being removed, but we'll get onto that later in the video. So, big question. Did these changes work? Well, let's just take into account the key turns and the differences it made. Really, it's only turns 1 and 3 that I feel had the biggest impact on the race. Yes, there were some overtakes at different parts of the track, but the vast majority of the moves came after the double DRS zone down into turn 3. I've got to say, I do think the changes to turn 1 really did improve the flow of the corner, allowing the drivers to, when paired with the new aero regulations, stick right with the cars in front. Turn 3, the changes in widening the track to just give a little bit more room to get the move done, making defending that little bit harder on entry. Overall, I'd say the first few changes on the track did have a marked impact on the chances of a move, and this section of the track was where we saw the most moves over the course of the race, so they're the ones I wanted to give a quick mention to. Now, if we take a look at the numbers. In the previous 3 races held at Albert Park between 2017 and 2019, we were treated to, and I'll do this as a sum of all 3 races combined, 16 whole overtakes. Not a lot, really. In 2022, last weekend, we saw, here we go, drum roll, please. No one doing that. A total of 34 overtakes. Yes, over double the previous 3 races combined. So, did the changes work? Well, you'd say on those numbers, yes, absolutely. But the track changes weren't the only difference this year. We of course have the new aero regulations as well that have so far seen an increase on the previous events numbers at every track this season. But that's a video for a few weeks' time. So can we say conclusively that the track layout did fix some of Australia's long-running issues? I'd say even despite the new regulations obviously going to play a hand, the massive jump in overtake numbers when paired with a track design that was built around being able to overtake, it is no coincidence, and actually, yeah, the race wasn't the most entertaining this season. But that was more due to the fact that all of the overtakes were happening in the midfield rather than out front, due to the insane pace of Leclerc and Ferrari, mixed with Red Bull struggling a bit more on this track and reliability issues later on. I asked what the viewers made of this race, and we got some interesting feedback, and I liked some of the points made, the first one being from Balaji Kumaran, echoing the point I just mentioned, saying, "There were some battles going on in the midfield, but there were none at the top. Altogether, it was not up to the level of Bahrain and Jeddah, so it felt kinda boring. Still don't know why they removed the 4th DRS zone." And that point on the 4th DRS zone is what I wanted to mention at some point in this video. Obviously, when we first saw the track was going to feature 4 DRS zones, everyone, well, a lot of people, got quite excited. This was a record number of DRS zones, and at Albert Park, out of any circuit on the calendar, yeah, it was fun. We had predictions online of Verstappen and Leclerc passing each other 4 times a lap. The race, it's going to feature 5 bajillion overtakes. Lewis Hamilton is going to win the race after dive-bombing a 10-person DRS train on the final lap. Nicholas Latifi won't crash in the race. Wait, he actually didn't. Minor teller boy, you go king. But yes, ultimately I think some people online may have got slightly carried away with how much these improvements were going to affect the racing product. Ultimately, I was a little hesitant even in guessing that we would get 30 or more overtakes this year, but at the end of the day, the track still had the same restrictions in place from mostly environmental factors, i.e. not wanting to tear up the whole of a heavily visited piece of greenery in a bustling city. So did some people get a bit carried away? I mean, yes. And in that case, I can absolutely see why people were much more disappointed with this race, given the drama we had in Bahrain and Saudi Arabia. Let's give a counter scenario. The race still has 34 overtakes overall, but 10 of those are between Max and Charles. I really do think more people would say that the new track layout is a big improvement compared to previous years than the still, I must say, fairly positive reception we saw, but with a lot of complaints as well. Ultimately, the more impactful those battles are, the more you remember it at the end of the race. So you're going to go, oh yes, Max and Charles, they overtook each other that many times, it must be a great track for racing. But you ignore the 10 overtakes that Kevin Magnussen did and the times he was overtaken during the race, because it's lower down the field and it meant less. But until next time, Australia, we'll gather some more evidence next time out. If you've got this far, I'm assuming you may have been a subscriber for a while, and in that case, I do want to give a quick sorry for being a lot less active in the Easter period. I've been a lot more busy visiting family and meeting up with friends who I haven't had the chance to see for a while. And also, I do have something pretty special in the works, so I really hope gets sorted sometime this week for me to announce. So keep an eye on the YouTube community tab by hitting subscribe, and there's a very decent chance you will see it whenever it is all signed and sorted. Alternatively, you can follow me on Twitter at RaceBeacon TV. There's a hint. But until next time, goodbye.